Attention shoppers! Tonight on the checkout, Jules learns why some parking tickets are far from fine, the sweetest new products to join the Breakfast Club, and Ben drinks the Kool-Aid to find out if you should too.
Quencher for active people.
Back in 1965, Robert Cade and a group of scientists at Florida University created a multi-billion-dollar industry by accident. They invented a drink with sodium, potassium, glucose and water for the Florida Gators. And they called this drink Cade's Cola. Then they called it Gatorade. And ever since then, a war has raged between these specially formulated sports drinks and good old-fashioned tap water.
Oh, hon, that's your 5th glass. You just better stop.
That's how it used to be. Not anymore. Now there's Gatorade.
Gatorade was presented as the alternative to this dangerous combination of hydrogen and oxygen.
Another glass, hon? Drink all you want. It's Gatorade.
Finally, a drink you can drink. But given that this costs roughly 3,000 times more than this, are these sports drinks really worth it? Well, Ray Graves of the Florida Gators certainly seemed to think so, and he gave some compelling reasons.
My Gators work up a big sweat and a big thirst on a football field. So a team of scientists developed something my hot, sweaty boys could drink during a ball game.
Hot, sweaty boys. Anyway, we still have these same reasons today. These drinks quench thirst,
Gatorade is thirst aid,
are associated with elite athletes.
These are the moments when they get the fuel to keep on driving.
And of course, are backed up by science.
1.2 billion seconds of Gatorade science, passion, and evolution.
Gatorade is the most researched sports drink in the world.
This is a laboratory.
That's right, these drinks were formulated in a lab, not some idiot cloud, which is why they can make claims like this.
A great tasting drink that's formulated to get into your system approximately 12 times faster than water.
Sorry, did you say 12 times faster?
Approximately 12 times faster than
water. Approximately, right, because in the 80s when Quakers Oats bought Gatorade, they did their own research and discovered that that figure of 12 times faster had to be slightly adjusted to 0 times faster. Sorry, approximately 0 times faster. Still though, the claim made in this ad is hard to refute.
You mean to tell me you don't give your husband Gatorade?
Of course, that was then and this is now. Science has come a long way. Kind of. See, a couple of years ago, the Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine at Oxford University and the British Medical Journal decided to look at 4 decades of sports science in order to
assess the extent and nature of claims regarding improved sports performance made by advertisers and the quality of the evidence on which these claims are based.
Anyway, as part of this study, they examined the claims made by sports drinks companies and assessed the research underpinning those claims. And what they found was basically the academic equivalent of this face. They found things like
poor quality surrogate outcomes
and
poorly designed research.
Also,
small sample sizes.
In the end, concluding that
if you apply evidence-based methods, 40 years of sports drinks research does not seemingly add up to much, particularly when applying the results to the general public.
And there's a deeper, thornier issue here.
You're going to have to leave and take your voiceover man with you.
All right, let's go. Sorry, John.
Don't worry about it. I get banned from many, many libraries. Goodbye.
But there's another thornier problem here too, and it's one of independence. Another article in the British Medical Journal says that despite the fact that a large proportion of these studies into the efficacy of sports drinks were carried out by scientists with financial ties to sports drinks manufacturers, this conflict of interest is either not declared or not published, which is a bit of a problem, really, and should drive home the level of moxie it took the American Beverage Association to make this complaint of the British Medical Journal.
It's important to note that the series of articles in the British Medical Journal exhibited a clear bias.
Come on, these guys are in the pockets of big evidence.
And this doesn't just apply to individual scientists. Entire institutions take money from sports drinks manufacturers. In fact, an exclusive checkout investigation can now reveal significant financial ties between the sports drink Gatorade and the Gatorade Sports Science Institute.
Congratulations on graduating from the Gatorade Sports Science Institute.
Other links aren't quite as clear. The Australian Institute of Sport, for instance, who issue their own fluid intake guides, entered into a funding relationship with Gatorade back in 2004. Now, perspective is very important here, and taken from the perspective of trying very hard to not get sued, we feel compelled to point out that the AIS is extremely forthcoming about their relationship with Gatorade and that fluid intake guide is clearly marked as sponsored material. Okay, great. Is he go? Okay. Yeah, see, on the other hand, though, if the AIS is going to release its own guide about when and if to consume sports drinks, you could certainly wonder if the information contained in that guide might be more convincing were it not sponsored by a company that sells sports drinks. That's something you could wonder. For their part, the AIS says that you can feel assured that their sponsorship deal does not affect their frank and fearless assessment of products. And you can feel even more assured by the fact that the Gatorade fact sheet has been earmarked for replacement. But here's the thing, a lot of people enjoy the taste of these drinks, which according to Powerade means...
A refreshing, palatable drink such as Powerade Isotonic will generally be consumed more readily, thereby further enhancing total fluid intake.
And that's actually quite difficult to argue with, really, so if you enjoy the taste and don't mind paying a bit extra, then you know what? Go for it. Although, do you know why these drinks taste better than water? Because of the Wonka-esque levels of sugar in them. Sugar which, by the way, combined with the low pH in these drinks, can rot your teeth clean out of your head. Don't worry though, because Gatorade and Powerade have you covered here. Powerade on their website recommending that you minimise the contact time between your teeth and their drink. And in those AIS guidelines, remember the ones sponsored by Gatorade, they go as far to recommend using a squeezy bottle to direct the fluid toward the back of your mouth. Think on that for a second. The recommended delivery mechanism for these drinks is using a squeezy bottle to blast their sugar water directly down your gullet, bypassing the mouth completely, and this is for your own safety. Okay. Oh, and not for nothing, but if you are finding it difficult to keep hydrated because you're finding it hard to drink water in large quantities, then can I put it to you that you are either not very thirsty or you are a child. Oh, and if you are a child, then according to the manufacturers themselves, these drinks aren't even made for you. Oh, and according to those AIS guidelines, the ones again, remember, sponsored by Gatorade, the reported benefits of these drinks relate only to 60 minutes or more of high-intensity activity. High-intensity activity, presumably, like pulling a plough through a football field or playing basketball against a velociraptor. On the other hand, though, there are drinks that are far, far worse for you, so, you know, bear that in mind.
Oh, I'm so thirsty. Pass us some bleach?
So, look, if you're going to be engaging in high-intensity activity for 60 minutes or more, then fine, go for it. Just for God's sake, don't get this stuff on your teeth. But if you're not going to be engaging in high-intensity activity for 60 minutes or more, or you're a child, then there's really no reason to think that these drinks are going to enhance your performance in any way. Oh, except that's actually still quite a good argument.
Cereal, it's so inconvenient. But now there's a breakfast that's portable and ready when you are. Belvita Breakfast Biscuits. Scientifically shown to provide sustained energy release, if you have it with a glass of milk. Part of a balanced breakfast. If you also have a portion of fruit. And a bowl of yogurt. And a drink such as tea and coffee. breakfast biscuits. For when you've got a lot on your plate.
Amazing discounts!
Was 1995, now 1994. Cha-ching!
I'll try not to spend all my savings at once.
High price discounts!
Bull Bar, normally $1,300, discounted price $1,299. Wholesale prices.
Are you sure that's the wholesale?
Even greater discounts.
Was $78, now $88. Save even more.
I don't think I can afford to save that much.
Bossy discounts.
Asics Gel, don't pay $119.95, only $179.95.
What?
The best kind of discounts.
Manager Special Tasty Ass Crackers.
That manager does indeed sound special.
Join us next time for some more Tasty Ass typos. Biscuits, they're so inconvenient. Sanitarium Up and Go is liquid breakfast, the perfect breakfast option without the hassle of chewing. It has all the fibre of 2 Weet-Bix and milk, plus all the sugar of this ice cream and then some, plus all the sodium of this packet of chips. Up and Go, breakfast that sucks.
Female human like us, you'll be a big fan of eating yogurt and not being fat.
I bet Good Health magazine has some good, healthy advice about yogurt and fatness. After all, they're a respected and inspiring source of up-to-date health information. They say eating yogurt can help you lose weight. Assume the eating position. And the best yogurt to eat is low-fat.
Low-fat.
Full-fat.
Stop!
Whoa!
We have a serious yogurt problem.
What are you looking at? Good Health magazine, February 2015, page 32.
75. To keep weight under control, eat a tub of low-fat yogurt.
But to help with weight loss, a smarter swap is natural full-fat yogurt.
Nothing ruins your day like a parking ticket.
And I think to myself, what a bunch of frigging assholes!
But it's not always
bastard government revenue raising
that's to blame. This parking ticket, for example, is from one of those
private parking companies.
These private parking tickets often come from those annoying pay and display car parks where you have to go and get the ticket yourself and put it on the dashboard.
Private car park operators have obtained hundreds of thousands of drivers' details in Victoria alone to issue them with payment notices.
But are private parking tickets even legal? Or to put it another way,
bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys,
what you gonna do when the private park companies come for you?
I'm going to check with a lawyer. I need a lawyer? To defend the little guy over a traffic offence.
I'm a lawyer who committed a traffic offence.
Not you, Einfeld.
I'm a traffic lawyer. Step into my office. The thing is, private parking companies can't actually fine people.
Aha! What do you call this then? All the lawyers in the car park.
Steady, Einfeld. Only governments can issue parking fines. And private car parking companies know it. They're trying to claim from you a fixed amount for breach of contract. But if what they're claiming is over the top, if it's out of proportion to the loss they've suffered because you haven't paid for your parking fees, then it may be an illegal penalty. Indeed, last year, a Victorian tribunal found that an $88 ticket was unenforceable for that very reason.
Of course, car park operators defend their practices. Secure Parking says it's necessary to deal with parking abuse. Wilson Parking sticks to the party line, saying their tickets are a genuine pre-estimate of their loss. And the CEO of Australian National Car Parks acknowledged receipt of our letter, which is better than Care Parks, who didn't even care to reply.
Steady, Einfeld. So these private parking tickets are on shaky legal ground. Excuse me. Double parking at the abandoned amusement park? Step on it, Einfeld.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
But you probably won't get the impression that there's a legal question mark over private parking tickets from the way that they communicate to you. That's because they just want you to pay up, because you think that you have to, or because you're worried about what'll happen if you don't.
They even offer early bird specials on their dodgy fines. But if you don't pay up, get ready to be bombarded with letters from debt collection agencies, lawyers, and the car park operators themselves. And Consumer Group Choice even found cases where the different firms chasing you for the money were run by the same people.
I'm not the same people. And neither am I.
The letters often contain very official-sounding threats like
seizure and sale of your asset, deduct money from your earnings. Your credit rating may be affected by this action. This letter is printed on recycled paper.
All that is possible, but only if the parking company actually takes you to court, wins the case, and then you still refuse to pay.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
So what should you do if you get a ticket from a private parking company and you believe the amount's excessive? Well, the payment options on the back tell you how you can dispute the fine. State Fair Trading Departments recommend contacting the car park company to dispute the ticket. Secure Parking's Code of Practice says it suspends all enforcement action when they get a written appeal. And unless you're a repeat offender, they err on the side of cancelling tickets if you're a valid user of the car park. But this can be a bit of a trap, because if the company doesn't have your contact details, getting in touch with them to dispute the ticket gives them that info. Now, the New South Wales Department of Fair Trading seems a little bit hesitant about the idea of just not paying the fine, which you can kind of understand because their legal status is tricky and they are a department of the bastard government. The Consumer Action Law Centre says that one option is to do absolutely nothing. Traffic lawyer Sean Hardy agrees.
If you're unhappy paying their claim, the best response you can give is to do absolutely nothing. Indeed, while they're chasing the registered owner of the vehicle, it's the driver who's actually responsible for the debt.
Best advice ever.
If the parking companies do get your address though, they can be pretty persistent. In 2013, New South Wales Fair Trading reportedly received more than 4,000 complaints about Australian national car parks, though the numbers have dropped off since then. If you've had enough of ignoring your ticket though, you might want to complain to your friendly bastard government. Fair Trading says that last year, over 90% of complaints were resolved without the need for costly legal action. But if you do need to, you can make a claim in your state consumer tribunal. The Consumer Action Legal Centre has a template that you can use so your argument can be framed into proper legal terms.
Not again, Einfeld. Could someone call a lawyer?
Just because these private car park tickets might not be valid doesn't mean that you can park there for as long as you want without paying. If the amount on the ticket isn't excessive, then the companies may be able to enforce them against you in court. If you do get a court order, don't ignore that. Lawyers from community legal centres or consumer groups can give you free legal advice.
Oh, that reminds me, am I getting paid for this?
Oh, I think I left my wallet in your office. Step on it, Einfeld!
welcome to FUTube, where you provide all the information in return for a holiday to Vegas.
No, we can't do that.
A holiday to Bris Vegas.
Nope.
A dictionary?
Zoe, we're not made of dictionaries.
A heartfelt letter of appreciation?
Are you going to write them?
FUTube, the segment where you provide all the FU in return for sweet FA. First up, a g'day to our friends in Tasmania, and a big FU goes to companies who claim their products are grown or made in our beautiful southernmost state, when really they're not, which is a total
scam.
Thanks, Senator. Warwick got in touch to let us know how much he loves his Tasmanian Tamar Valley no added sugar low fat mixed berry yogurt. And when we say love, we mean it.
I used to sit in the lunchroom and read the poetic words on the packaging. There's nowhere on earth like the rolling hills of Tasmania's pristine Tamar Valley. We think it is the perfect place to create our delicious gourmet and Greek-style yogurts.
And we agree. Tasmania's right up there on the list of perfect places to make Greek-style yogurt. Warwick liked that Tasmania's Tamar Valley yogurt was made in Tasmania, and you can see why he thought that when he saw their ad, where these berries get tied up in a neat little box labelled Tamar Valley, and the nice man in the ad says
made in Tasmania.
And you can see why he'd think all the ingredients were
made in Tasmania.
But when Warwick emailed Fonterra, who owned Tamar Valley Dairy, they told him all their fruit was not
made in Tasmania,
but in fact sourced
from a number of countries, including China.
Now, they assured Warwick that their berries were cooked in China and put in sterile bags. So while it may be safe, their ad would be more accurate if it looked like this.
Tamar Valley yogurt is created in the pristine Tamar Valley,
with berries cooked in China and packed in sterile bags,
and fresh local milk.
Which means they're not
made in Tasmania,
unless this is what Tasmania looks like. And I'm the first to admit, on occasion I've really let myself go, but I ain't never seen a Mapatazzi like that. Now the thing is, putting boiled Chinese fruit into yogurt in Tasmania doesn't mean you can't label it made in Australia, as we learnt last year from a tiny psychopath in a koala suit.
It's this absolute Barry Crocker of a system.
But the good news is this might change. The government has promised to introduce new labelling laws for food products that will allow people to tell at a glance how much of the food in a package comes from Australia. See, they're dead serious about this. They told us about it on April Fool's Day, and they're hoping to pass it by the end of the year, just as soon as they pass last year's budget. But whatever the chances are of this happening, you can increase them by emailing how you feel to this address. And as for Warwick, I can only hope that his love affair with his muse Tamar Valley yogurt can be mended.
I have to admit that some of the magic has gone out of the relationship.
Oh, that's a shame. Is it? Speaking of love, our next tipster had a complaint about an over-40s dating website. Now, he didn't want to be identified in this story, and because we definitely don't want to emotionally manipulate you, we'd like you to keep in mind this image of an old man eating dinner by himself in a romantic Italian restaurant while we tell you what happened. Let's call him Cecil. Now, Cecil thought he'd give online dating a go and signed up for the dating agency's free service. It wasn't long before Cecil was told he'd received a message from a nice lady. But if he wanted to read it, he had to sign up for $59.99 a month. Oh well, thought Cecil, that's a small price to pay if she turns out to be the one. So he paid up. But when he replied to the nice lady, she wrote back to him and said that she hadn't sent him a message and that it had probably been generated by the website and that she was talking to someone else. So we signed up with the dating agency to find out what was going on with poor Cecil's love life. We made this exciting profile to lure in the ladies, and soon our inbox was flooded with personal private messages that we could only read if we paid. Only just like with Cecil, when we asked the ladies, they told us they hadn't sent us any messages, although some thought they might have been computer generated. The dating agency told us this is what they call an introduction. A member writes a message and then they give the dating agency permission to bulk send it on to possible matches. But no one told Cecil about this, so he coughed up $60 because he thought a nice lady had contacted him personally. The introductions feature might help more users meet. It certainly helps more users get screwed. I'm sorry, Cecil. I wonder how someone over 40 looking for love would feel about this.
Scam.
Our last FU is for Woolworths. Adam noticed that some of their baked treats are labelled frozen and thawed for your convenience. So he asked Woolworths to
enlighten me on how this is convenient for anyone other than Woolworths.
Now, Woolworths didn't really answer his question, although they did say,
I have raised your comments with the relevant area for future reference.
That Woolworths response wasn't really well thought out. God, I'm sorry. That totally wasn't Woolworths it. So we asked Woolworths the same question, and they said,
The product is thawed, so the customer can use it immediately without having to thaw it themselves. Hence, convenient for our customers.
Oh, I think I understand. It's like how I glued your vase back together.
What, you broke my vase?
Let's focus on how I glued your vase back together for your convenience.
Wouldn't have been more convenient if you hadn't broken it in the first place.
You can go now, Cecil.
But this vase is the only thing that I've got.
Everyone's sick of you, Cecil. But there's an even bigger controversy on the packet that Adam has overlooked.
Best served with friends.
Because as my mum always says,
If a friend serves you a slice of thawed-out frozen Woolworths cake, they are not a true friend.
Thanks, Mum. And thank you, Woolworths, the thawed food people.